Hey everyone, welcome back to your favorite channel. I hope you're all doing fantastic. Guys, whenever we talk about raw power and gods in the DC universe, our minds instantly go to Superman, Shazam, or mythical deities like Wonder Woman. But what if I told you that in the darkest, deepest corner of the cosmos, there are beings who make the entire Justice League look like a total joke? We're talking about entities so massive and powerful that they basically treat our world like their own personal chessboard. Today, we are cracking wide open the file on the most mysterious, epic, and terrifying race in all of comic book history, the New Gods. In this video, we're going to dive into the bizarre origin story of these beings, figure out why they split into two totally opposite factions, and finally introduce the most powerful members one by one, from the peace-loving rulers of New Genesis to Darkseid himself, the ultimate definition of pure evil, whose very name makes the whole universe shake in fear. So, if you're a sucker for deep lore, mind-blowing facts, and epic DC storylines, smash that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon, because our journey to the world of the New Gods starts right now. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright guys, to truly grasp the sheer scale of the New Gods, you need to wipe your mind clean of everything you know about space, planets, and your average superheroes. We need to roll the clock back billions of years, way before Earth even existed, before the Kryptonians were born, and before the Milky Way galaxy even took shape. Back in those ancient times, a race of giant cosmic beings known as the Old Gods ruled over the entire universe. These guys were basically DC's take on Norse and Greek mythology, beings with limitless power, but toxic egos, petty grudges, and a literal thirst for power. In the end, their arrogance ruined them, sparking an incredibly destructive, atomic-level civil war across the cosmos. It was an apocalyptic battle, known in comic history as Ragnarok. This war was so brutal and catastrophic that it literally blew up and ashified the Old Gods' entire planet and civilization. But their death wasn't the end of the story. It actually triggered an even bigger explosion. From the leftover energy of that cosmic blast and out of the ash and blood of the Old Gods, a massive wave of energy rippled through existence. In DC lore, this is called the God Wave. This energy wave was so insanely powerful that as it swept across the universe, it sowed the seeds of magic and supernatural abilities on different planets, including our very own Earth, meaning Greek gods like Zeus or the powers of Shazam. Yeah, they all owe it to this exact energy wave from the Old Gods. But the main core and focus of this massive energy didn't stay in our universe. It settled in a completely separate cosmic dimension, way beyond our physical world. This new realm exists outside our three-dimensional space, and in the comics, it's known as the Fourth World. The legendary Jack Kirby created this universe back in the 1970s to build a totally fresh world for DC. Over billions of years, this concentrated energy in the Fourth World started to take shape, solidify, and eventually split into two massive, totally opposite planets. The inhabitants born on these two planets are the ones we know today as the New Gods. Because of how the Fourth World works, these beings never age. They've reached absolute biological perfection, and every single one of them has a direct link to the source.
But the real drama and the heart of the story starts right here. Despite having the exact same roots, the extreme polarization of these two planets split this race into two totally different, hostile factions that want each other's blood. One planet became the ultimate symbol of peace, science, art, and absolute beauty, while the other turned into a living hell, dark, industrial, and full of torture. A place that makes the entire galaxy lose its mind just hearing its name. Alright guys, now that we know how the Fourth World came to be, it's time to get into the meat of the drama, the clash between New Genesis and Apokolips. These two planets are literally like two opposite poles of a magnet, or better yet, the heaven and hell of the Fourth World. First, let's look at New Genesis. This planet is the definition of peace, beauty, spiritual evolution, and clean green tech. New Genesis is a living paradise, packed with untouched forests, glowing skies, and magnificent palaces floating in the air. The leader of this side is a being called Highfather, also known as Isaiah. Highfather is a wise, spiritual elder who has a direct line to the source itself.
The people of New Genesis dedicate their lives to science, art, philosophy, and keeping the cosmic peace. They use technology to serve nature and the soul of the universe. But in brutal contrast to this paradise, we have Apokolips. Look, guys, Apokolips is a living, breathing, industrial hellscape. It's filthy, pitch black, and the entire surface is covered in weapon factories, endless fire pits, and colossal machinery. There isn't a single tree on this planet. The sky is always choked with black smog and toxic gases, and the screams of torture literally never stop. The ruler of this hell is none other than Darkseid, the absolute embodiment of evil in the DC universe. On Apokolips, moral concepts like love, compassion, or art don't exist. The entire population is made up of either Darkseid's brainless soldiers, the parademons, or miserable slaves working themselves to death under the whips of Darkseid's guards just to churn out weapons for his empire. Of course, occasionally you see other creatures on this planet too. For example, there's a specific hybrid breed that's half parademon and half doomsday, but they aren't around all the time and only pop up in certain comic issues. For millions of years, these two planets were locked in a massive, galaxy-burning, bloody war. A war that was literally bringing the entire fourth world to the brink of absolute destruction. Highfather couldn't bring Darkseid to his knees, and Darkseid couldn't break through New Genesis's defenses. So, to prevent total annihilation, a historic and incredibly dark peace treaty was made, known as the Pact. Highfather was forced to send his infant son, scot-free, straight into the hell of Apokolips. In return, Darkseid sent his savage biological son, Orion, to the paradise of New Genesis. Darkseid's motive was purely twisted. He threw scot-free into the deepest dungeons of Apokolips under the brutal torturer Granny Goodness, aiming to completely crush his soul. But Highfather, with endless love and patience, raised Orion, Darkseid's resentful son, teaching him how to control the beastly rage inside him, turning him into a truly noble hero. This baby swap and the peace treaty ended up shaping the biggest storyline for the New Gods, because eventually these kids grew up, and that massive contrast in their upbringing completely broke the balance of power in the entire DC universe. Alright guys, so now we get the history of the New Gods, and what kind of worlds they live in. But what jacks up the badass status of this race across DC is their mind-blowing tech and cosmic tools.
They have gadgets that don't fit our definition of technology, machines, or computers at all. These tools basically erase the line between super advanced science and pure magic. In this section, I want to introduce you to the most important and fascinating tools they use. The first and most famous one is none other than the Mother Box. Look guys, a mother box isn't just some metal container or a cosmic external hard drive. It's a living miniature computer with a soul, consciousness, and feelings. This amazing device has a direct link to the source. Mother boxes are fiercely loyal to their masters. If their owner gets hurt, they feel their pain and can even regenerate and heal their bodily cells. So, what's the main point of a mother box? They can bend the laws of physics, control cosmic energies, and most importantly, open those famous portals called boom tubes. Since I mentioned earlier that the fourth world is in a completely different dimension, the New Gods have to use boom tubes to travel to our physical universe or head back home. It's a gateway that makes a massive explosion sound when it opens, and it can literally compress the colossal dimensions of the New Gods so they can fit into our world. Of course, there's a dark version of the Mother Box held by the army of Apokolips called the Father Box, which we'll get into later. But the second tool is the Mobius chair. This chair was invented by a scientist named Mobius, but for centuries it's been held by a peace-loving new god named Metron. The Mobius chair is a trans-dimensional vehicle that can travel through time, space, and every single parallel dimension in DC with zero restrictions. But that's not even its coolest feature. The Mobius chair is hooked up to the source of all knowledge in the universe, meaning anyone who sits on this chair becomes omniscient in a split second, knowing the answers to every single question across the past, present, and future of the entire multiverse. During the famous Darkseid War storyline, a historic moment happened that you absolutely need to know about. Batman managed to pull Metron off the chair for a brief moment and sat on it himself.
The second Bruce Wayne sat on the Mobius chair, he basically became the god of knowledge. The first question Batman asked the chair was, "Who killed my parents?" And the chair instantly answered, "Joe Chill." Honestly, the power of the Mobius chair is so insane that it uncovers the deepest, darkest secrets of the multiverse like it's nothing. But guys, don't think the tech of the new god stops at just these two. The fourth world is packed with gadgets and weapons that can shift the balance of an entire galaxy. Let's look at a few of the most bizarre and dark tools they have. The first weapon with terrifying power is the Alpha Staff. This staff is the exclusive weapon and symbol of power for Highfather himself, the leader of New Genesis. The Alpha Staff isn't just a decorative piece of wood or metal, it's the main pipeline connecting Highfather to the source. By swinging the staff, Highfather can manipulate life energy, resurrect the dead, create invincible shields that can even tank Darkseid's Omega beams, and craziest of all, he can alter the atomic structure of an entire planet to cleanse it of any brewing evil energies.
All right, guys, we've finally made it to the most exciting part of the video, introducing the most powerful heroes of the fourth world. To do this justice, we're heading straight to DC's version of heaven, the peace-loving planet of New Genesis, to see what kind of heavy hitters are on this side. Being so powerful that even with all his power, Darkseid hasn't been able to beat them for billions of years. 1. Highfather. The first and most important figure is none other than Highfather himself, also known as Isaiah. He is the absolute leader of New Genesis, standing as the exact counterpart and equal to Darkseid on the opposing side. In his youth, Highfather was actually a brutal, bloodthirsty warrior consumed by grudges. But after his wife was killed, he completely changed his ways and chose the path of peace and spirituality. He has evolved so much spiritually that he's the only being who can directly talk to the source, the creator energy of the DC universe. Physically, Highfather is completely immortal with limitless stamina, but his true strength lies in that Alpha Staff I told you about earlier. With this staff, he can manipulate cosmic energies, heal minds, and create force fields that can easily tank entire galactic armies. He is the mastermind and the ultimate backbone of New Genesis. 2. Orion. The second guy on our list is one of the darkest yet coolest heroes on the side of good, Orion, famously known as the Dog of War. Guys, like I mentioned in the earlier sections, Orion is the actual biological son of Darkseid, who came to New Genesis as part of the peace treaty. Orion literally has Darkseid's genetics running through his veins, meaning he is naturally wild, resentful, brutal, and constantly bloodthirsty. His true face is so ugly and terrifyingly similar to his father's that he constantly uses the power of a mother box to mask it, making himself look like a handsome human so he doesn't scare people away. But when Orion goes into a blind rage, his power skyrockets to an insane degree. He easily goes toe-to-toe with Superman, and he's even managed to give Darkseid himself a serious beating in hand-to-hand combat a few times. He flies around using a device called the Astro Harness, which can fire lethal cosmic energy blasts. Orion is the prophesied hero destined to one day destroy his father, Darkseid, once and for all. 3. Mr. Miracle. Moving on to number 3, we have one of the most popular and genius new gods out there, Scott Free, better known as Mr. Miracle. Scott was the actual biological son of Highfather, who got sent straight into the hell of Apokolips. He grew up in the worst imaginable conditions, enduring the most brutal tortures from Granny Goodness, but his soul never surrendered to the darkness. That dark past turned Scott into the greatest escape artist in the entire multiverse. There isn't a single lock, handcuff, black hole, parallel dimension, or trap in the entire DC universe that can keep Mr. Miracle caged. The guy has literally escaped the clutches of death itself. Scott packs serious physical power and is a master of martial arts, but his main weapon is his genius-level IQ and his custom mother box. Scott later fell in love with one of Darkseid's former elite warriors, Big Barda, and together they escaped Apokolips and came to New Genesis to build a brand new life. 4. Big Barda. Next up is a lady who is officially one of the most terrifying and powerful warriors in the entire fourth world, Big Barda. Barda's roots trace back to New Genesis, but her backstory is incredibly dark.
As a child, she was kidnapped by Darkseid's army and raised under Granny Goodness to become the leader of the infamous Female Furies, Apokolips' elite strike force. For years, Barda was a ruthless killing machine for Darkseid, until she fell in love with Scott-Free, Mr. Miracle. For the sake of love, she betrayed Darkseid and escaped to New Genesis with Scott. Physically, Big Barda is an absolute powerhouse. In the comics, she fights completely on par with Wonder Woman and has even beaten her a few times. Her signature weapon is the Mega Rod, a high-tech club that can fire devastating energy beams, generate gravity shields, and grant her the power of flight. She is officially the Muscle and the ultimate shield protecting Mr. Miracle. 5. Light Ray. Our fifth hero is Orion's ride-or-die best friend, Light Ray. Light Ray is the exact polar opposition of the brutal and resentful Orion. He's always smiling, high energy, hopeful, and peace-loving. But don't let his cheerful personality fool you, because power-wise, he is the god of light of the fourth world. Light Ray can fly at speeds way past the speed of light, turning into a literal unstoppable ghost in battle. His main power is manipulating light photons. He can blast beams of pure solar light that match the heat and intensity of a star's core, capable of melting the toughest armor Apokolips can throw at him. Light Ray has stood right by Orion's side in every single major cosmic war, repeatedly acting as the guardian angel for the New Genesis army. 6. Metron. But guys, before we leave the New Genesis faction, I have to introduce you to the most bizarre, mysterious, and completely neutral being in the entire fourth world, a guy named Metron. Race-wise, Metron belongs to New Genesis, but he doesn't get involved in the political wars between Highfather and Darkseid at all. To Metron, the war between good and evil, or heaven and hell, is completely meaningless. The only thing this guy gives a damn about is absolute knowledge. He's a cold, emotionless scientist and philosopher who has dedicated his entire billion-year-long life to figuring out the secrets of creation and the multiverse. Like I told you in the earlier sections, Metron is the rightful owner of the Mobius chair. He sits on this trans-dimensional chair and travels like a ghost through time, space, and every parallel universe just to gather facts and information. Metron is so thirsty for knowledge that he's down to make a deal with anyone to get it. Meaning, if Darkseid tells him, "I'll give you this cosmic secret if you give me boom tube tech in return," Metron will do it without a single shred of remorse, even if it costs the destruction of an entire galaxy. Power-wise, Metron doesn't have crazy physical strength, and he isn't a fighter, but his armor and the tech built into his chair make him practically invincible. He is so far ahead of his time that he can actually see future timelines. Because of that, he always pops up like a silent observer, right in the middle of DC's biggest wars, just chilling on his chair, watching, and taking notes. He basically owes his survival to the fact that he's always been an incredibly valuable scientific asset to both Darkseid and Highfather. Long story short, Metron is the ultimate mastermind and historian of the fourth world. Even Batman, with all his big brain energy, looks like a total schoolboy compared to this guy's knowledge. Alright guys, now that we've fully explored the paradise of the fourth world and the heroes of New Genesis, it's time to head down from those floating palaces and glowing skies. We are dropping straight into the darkest, most brutal, and terrifying place in the DC universe, the hell planet of Apokolips.
In this section, we're checking out the inner circle and the obedient generals of this planet who make the entire galaxy shake in fear just from hearing their names. Without further ado, let's get right into the heavy hitters of this living hell. 1. Darkseid. The first guy and the undisputed king of this faction is none other than Darkseid himself. Look guys, Darkseid isn't just a strong alien like Superman. In DC lore, he is the literal concept and avatar of pure evil in the entire multiverse. His physical strength is so off the charts that he can easily take on the entire Justice League all at once. But his most lethal and signature weapon is the Omega Beams. Lasers that shoot from his eyes, move in crazy zigzag paths, lock onto the target, and the second they hit, they can completely wipe that being out of history and existence. Don't forget, Darkseid is a trans-dimensional entity, and the version we see on Earth is just a tiny avatar. His ultimate goal is tracking down the anti-life equation so he can strip away free will from every living creature and turn everyone into his personal slaves. 2. Steppenwolf. Second up is one of the most seasoned and veteran warriors of Apokolips, Steppenwolf, who you definitely saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Family-wise, Steppenwolf is actually Darkseid's uncle and the commander-in-chief of the Parademon army. He's millions of years old and a master of all dirty military tactics and cosmic warfare. His weapon of choice is an electro-axe that can rip through the skin of the toughest beings in the multiverse like paper. Steppenwolf might not have Darkseid's godlike cosmic powers, but his sheer brutality and blind loyalty to the Empire make him a living nightmare for defenseless planets. 3. Kalibak. Our third character is Darkseid's oldest biological son, Kalibak, also known as Kalibak the Cruel. Body-wise, Kalibak looks like a massive demon, and his raw physical strength is absolutely terrifying, to the point where he goes blow for blow with Superman or Doomsday in raw fistfights. His weapon of choice is a frequency club called the Beta Club, which fires paralyzing nerve blasts. But despite this masterpiece of a body, Kalibak has one massive flaw. He is completely brainless, stupid, and fueled by petty grudges. Because of this stupidity, he constantly gets wrecked by Orion, and Darkseid is usually completely fed up with him. 4. Granny Goodness. Number 4 is an old lady who might look like a sweet grandma on the outside, but her soul is darker than the devil himself, Granny Goodness. Granny is the head of Apokolips' brainwashing division. She takes kidnapped kids from all over the galaxy and uses the most horrific psychological and physical torture to break them down until they love Darkseid and fight for him. She's also the main commander of the Female Furies, the elite warrior women fiercely loyal to Darkseid. Combat-wise, she packs freaky physical power and is an absolute master of mind games and crushing a prisoner's willpower. By the way, if you've watched Season 3 of the Young Justice animated series, you've seen exactly how terrifying she can be. 5. Darkseid. Fifth on the list is Darkseid's right-hand man and chief advisor, Darkseid. Darkseid is a cowardly, sneaky, and intensely sadistic creature who never sets foot on an actual battlefield. His job is designing weapons of mass destruction and the torture chambers of Apokolips. He has a super dark psychological trait. He literally gets off and gains energy from watching the pain, agony, and screams of other beings. He's the main brain behind all the soul-torturing machines on Apokolips, and despite all his service, Darkseid still blasts him into dust with his Omega beams every now and then, just to keep him in line before bringing him back to life. 6.
Glorious Godfrey. And finally, the sixth member of this sinister lineup is none other than Godfrey. Godfrey doesn't use an axe or lasers. This guy's weapon is his voice. He is the god of propaganda and division on Apokolips. Godfrey is an insanely charismatic speaker, and his voice produces a hypnotic frequency that completely locks down the free will of anyone listening. He's repeatedly come to Earth in disguise as a TV show host to turn the public against the superheroes. The power of Godfrey's words can literally shatter an entire civilization from the inside out without firing a single bullet. Just look at that. When you combine Darkseid's raw presence, Steppenwolf's tactical army, Kalibak's muscle, Granny's tortures, Darkseid's twisted brain, and Godfrey's golden tongue, the Apokolips army is officially a flawless package of absolute destruction. Alright guys, now that you've gotten to know every single new god from New Genesis and Apokolips, it's time to put them all on the scale. Based on official DC lore and facts, we are going to rank these 10 characters from the absolute strongest to the weakest to see who officially wears the crown as the undisputed king of the fourth world. Rank 1. Darkseid. Without a single shred of doubt, the top spot belongs to Darkseid himself. The guy isn't just a heavy hitter, he is the literal concept and avatar of pure evil in the entire multiverse. With his Omega beams, reality warping abilities, and his trans-dimensional nature, he easily ranks as the most powerful new god in history. Rank 2. Highfather. The second spot goes right to Darkseid's longtime rival, Highfather. He's the only being whose spiritual power and cosmic energy can stand toe-to-toe with Darkseid.
mostly because he's hooked up directly to the source and can use his Alpha Staff to reshape things on a cosmic level. Rank 3, Orion. Darkseid's biological son and New Genesis's Dog of War takes the 3rd spot. Orion shares his dad's devastating genetics, and whenever his rage gets unlocked, his power levels skyrocket like crazy. According to the prophecies, he's the only one with the raw physical capability to put an end to Darkseid. Rank 4, Steppenwolf. Apokolips's commander-in-chief claims number 4. Steppenwolf has millions of years of combat experience under his belt, and his electro-axe paired with his elite tactical brain makes him an absolute nightmare for the galaxy. Rank 5, Big Barda and Granny Goodness. 5th place is a tie between 2 of the most brutal and powerful women in the 4th world. Big Barda is a total powerhouse who fights on par with Wonder Woman and crushes armor with her Mega Rod. Right beside her is her former mentor, Granny Goodness. Despite looking like an old lady, Granny has insane New God stamina, massive physical strength, and is an absolute master of hand-to-hand combat and torture weapons. Rank 6, Kalibak. Darkseid's oldest son takes the 6th spot. Kalibak has a massive frame and terrifying raw power, maybe even more brute strength than some of the guys ranked above him. But the reason he's down at number 6 is that he is completely brainless, stupid, and has 0 strategic thinking in battle. Rank 7, Light Ray. The god of light and speed sits at number 7. Light Ray flies way past the speed of light, and his solar blast can clear entire armies. But since he's naturally peaceful and kind-hearted, we're capping him at the 7th spot. Rank 8, Mr. Miracle, Scott Free. Scott Free takes number 8. He might not match the raw physical muscle of the Apokolips heavyweights, but with his genius-level IQ, high-tech gadgets, and his title as the greatest escape artist in the multiverse, the guy can slip out of any lethal trap. Rank 9, Metron. Metron lands at number 9.
He's not a fighter and doesn't do physical brawls at all, but his armor and the Mobius chair make him completely immortal and invulnerable. Metron's power is all about absolute knowledge, not his fists. Rank 10, Glorious Godfrey, Darkseid. Rounding out the list at number 10, we have the specialized players of the battlefield. Godfrey with his hypnotic voice, Darkseid with his sadistic mind and torture machines. And that is a wrap, guys. The complete, mind-blowing file on the new gods of the DC Universe. We talked about their bizarre roots in the 4th world, that massive cosmic explosion, broke down their wild tools like the Mother Box and the Mobius chair, and finally looked at the heavy hitters ruling the paradise of New Genesis and the industrial hell of Apokolips. Now that you know this trans-dimensional civilization inside out, it's your turn to voice your opinion. Do you think, according to the prophecies, that Orion is truly the only one who can finish off his father? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one of them. Thank you guys so much for sticking around until the end of this video. If you're a fan of deep lore and awesome comic book histories like this, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming videos. Until the next epic video and the next insane story from the comic world. Much love and peace out for now.